My name is Mark Stallard, welcome to Little Green Man, hashtag Me Too. I've been holding off commenting on this, and there are several good reasons for me to hold back. I think it's getting a lot of coverage, and I think some of it's good coverage, and there's being a little bit of pushback on some of the right-wing media. But I think on the whole, this is actually a good thing, and I'm glad it's going forward, and I'm wholly in favour of this. Now, one of the reasons I've been holding back is because I think that a man, a particularly middle-aged man, coming forward and making comments on this, either for or against, can be somewhat problematic, particularly as many of the other men that are the perpetrators of, assuming these crimes are real crimes, of course, are being accused, are middle-aged men and white men at that. But I found a story. A story has come up, and it's actually a relatively easy story to cover. It's not very, no one's really going to get too offended by me covering it, but it allows me a good opportunity to talk about some of the aspects of this Me Too, thing that's going on. So really, it's, for me, when I see it looking at it from afar, is that this is enabling victims to be taken seriously, and it's enabling them so that they're not being shot down as they have been in the past. I hope this is not a flash in the pan. I hope that it will become something that is culture changing. Although part of me thinks that it will be just that, and like an elastic band that stretches a bit too far too quickly, it'll snap back and things may end up getting worse. I hope I'm wrong. That's not a prediction. That's just something I fear that might happen. So I hope this does push forward and becomes the norm, that we believe victims, or at least when credible victims come forward, we take them seriously and investigate it. So when people have been accused in this string of hashtag Me Too's, they've just either been fired without an investigation, it seems at least fairly quickly, or they've resigned. And I hope, for the most part, that those people realize that they were guilty of those things. And that was the reason why they resigned. Because honestly, as long as that is the case, then I'm perfectly happy with them resigning. I'm perfectly happy with them being fired. But in order for the victims to be taken seriously, there needs to be, if someone does come forward and they are lying or they are exaggerating, so on and so forth, that will then take the whole of the movement. And I think that would be very dangerous. But that can be, I think, pretty much eased out very, very easily by just investigating some of the worst crimes, particularly if the perpetrator of these alleged crimes are claiming their innocence, and they want to investigate to confirm that they're not guilty. That's fine, perfectly great, because we do live in a free country here in Canada, and the US is supposed to be a free country, and we are supposed to be innocent, and we need to be proven guilty. So if we are guilty, but then we have to prove our innocence, that's always difficult, because almost impossible, because you can't prove that something didn't happen, you can only prove that something did. I think that the Pope has actually just come out fairly recently, just this week, and he's actually shaming victims of child rape in Chile. And this is pretty much the kind of thing that one would expect from the Catholic Church. This has been going on, after all, for a long, long time in the Catholic Church, and not just the Catholic Church, but other religious institutions too, and other institutions where one or two people have charge over lots of children. I think some hockey coaches were accused a while back. So it's really quite disgusting in this particular case, because the Catholic Church had sentenced the perpetrator to a lifetime of prayer and penance, as if they know he's guilty, but they still shamed the people who are crying abuse as slandering this man. So this is the kind of thing that I fear will happen with a little bit more visceral down the road if we can't keep this, or if this movement doesn't keep its momentum. And so the story that I feel safe on reporting on and talking about and using as an example is actually a fairly innocuous story. It's not about sexual abuse, it's not about sexual nature. I don't know if this was really actually part of hashtag Me Too, but I think this stands, and it's this stands as a fairly good and safe example to discuss without fear of riling up too many emotions. And it is a case where Elizabeth May, the Green Party leader, of the Green Party of Canada leader, Member of Parliament, has been accused of bullying some of her staff, and so creating a toxic work environment is the cause. Sorry, is not the cause, is the accusation. 3 people have come forward apparently, and they have 3 former employees who allege that May created a hostile work environment by yelling and insulting employees. And this is plural, so not the 3 are coming forward. And so let's take them seriously, as we should, and there should be an investigation. And in this particular case, Elizabeth May has done the right thing. According to this article in the CBC, source obviously, as usual, or others in the description, has actually said that she wants this cleared up. She believes she's innocent, and she is not really aware that her actions were abusive or bullying, and wants it investigated, and has actually employed a law firm based in Toronto to investigate them. And the investigation will take 2 to 4 weeks. Seems a bit long to me, but then how else are lawyers going to get rich? But this looks like it's going to be a relatively thorough investigation, 2 to 4 weeks for just a simple case of workplace bullying, of some shouting and shouty behaviour. Now, what we hope that we find in this particular case, these people are saying that they are negative, but they're negative about Elizabeth May being shouty and all mean to them, and she may well have been. Yeah, but the news, CBC News, actually spoke to all 3 employees, confirmed that their story, and then talked to other former employees and said that they were the complaints were overblown, and it's really just a matter of disgruntled former staff. Well, at least that's how the party has claimed it that it is. Now, of course, Elizabeth May comes back and she has an argument, and this is good. This is what really should be happening. Victims come forward, the accused get to say their piece, there is an investigation, and hopefully it's a fair investigation, that is a third party involved, and if there's any real serious issues, then the person who's guilty gets prosecuted to the full extent of the law. They don't get off with just resigning, and they don't get off with just being fired from their job, but if these are criminal acts, then they should be prosecuted for the full extent of the law. Now, having said that too, I'm not just saying after the people that are perpetrated. If people come forward with these false allegations, let's take them seriously, to treat them as if they are real allegations or real potential allegations, investigate them fully, and if they're found to be false, the people who bring forward the false allegations, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Now, there are slander and libel laws in Canada. Those laws already exist. I'm not calling for more laws or harsher laws, just that there be a negative repercussion for coming forward with foundless accusations. Now, it could be a case of someone coming forward with an accusation and it's inconclusive, in which case then neither should be punished, because one or the other could be true. But if it's proven one way or another, then absolutely let's go forward. Now, in this particular case, I'm not going to defend Elizabeth May. I don't know her. And I've said in an article, in a video recently, that the person, whether they're a good person or an arsehole, is irrelevant. It's the person's or the political leaders' policies that matter. So I don't really care one way or another if this is true or not. I don't know any of the people involved. I don't know Elizabeth May. And even if I had met her, I wouldn't be a good judge of her character. So just going what's in the CBC article, there's been a very small minority of a party that she says desperately and quite aggressively wanted her to leave. And she says that, or at least suggests in the article, that these 3 people are from that 6% that voted against her in the leadership battle. But I think in this article, the reason I'm convinced, or at least I'm swayed, that she's probably innocent. These people are just disgruntled employees that didn't get their way in the vote, is this. And I'm just going to read the article here. So one of the accusers did not give explicit details of the alleged abuse, but did say that she was shouted at in public. Okay, this is good, because, and I'll tell you why in a second, I'll continue, she was just bullying and demeaning. Again, nothing specific, and yelling, publicly yelling. Okay, so this was why I think that this should be over fairly quickly, and I think the 4 weeks is rather ridiculous. If it was public yelling and public abuse, there should be a number of witnesses. If this was in public, then there should be a whole load of witnesses, because if there are no witnesses and no one saw it, then it wasn't in public and that statement is false. So that will kind of tell me that this should be over fairly quickly, and it should be fairly concise. They should be able to find the witnesses and witnesses very quickly. Finally, though, what really makes me think that this is just blustering from the accuser in this particular case is that the one victim I won't mention the name said she is concerned that the scope of the investigation is not wide enough and has concerns that the reports released at the end of the investigation will not reflect all the facts. And that, for me, says it. Is that, oh, you're not going to find the evidence, but it really did happen. Or setting it up that you're not going to they know that it's not true, or there isn't enough evidence, or isn't as bad as they said, and therefore just prepping the ground for for there to be nothing to be found. So that's kind of what I think in this particular case. We'll see if I'm right or not. And honestly, it doesn't matter to me whether May is found guilty or not, or workplace bullying, what the punishment is or should be. It seems a fairly minor infraction, a slap on the wrist perhaps. And so I think we should give these people these accusations, even though from my mind these particular ones don't seem particularly credible. We should be treating them as serious accusations, and we should believe them to the point where it will be investigated until there's evidence that it did happen, or there's evidence or reason to believe that it didn't. And in which place then we should take the action. At that point, the person should be fired or should resign, or whatever the case may be, or it's really up to the organisation involved whether they keep them or not. So I think that this is a good way to go. It's a good discussion to have, and I hope it continues, and we hope that we continue to say it and continue to talk about this. So hashtag Me Too should really be, in my mind, what it really means, I should say, is hashtag believe the victim. Don't trust the victim. Look, don't just go with what they say. Don't just assume the victim is right. Just hashtag believe the victim, because for so long, victims of sexual abuse and other abuse have been pushed aside and ignored, and the cycle of abuse just continues. Little Green Man. This is the back door to the Manitoba legislator. Now, if you hit the subscribe button now, hit the notification bell, then you won't be surprised when they try to stick something up your back door.